Hi everyone! Welcome back to the series where we solve data problems in both SQL and Pandas. This is a series of medium difficulty, and today's challenge is to do gameplay analysis 4. We have a table activity with different player IDs and event date, and we need to find a fraction. So what it means, we need to determine the number of players who logged in on the day immediately following their initial login. For example, when player ID initially logged in on the 1st of March, the next day after he also logged in, whereas player ID 3 initially logged in on the 2nd March, however, he did not log in on the 3rd March, he logged in 2 years after, on the 3rd of July. So we are looking for these cases. Then, once we have a number of all those players who logged in immediately on the second day of the first login, we divide that number by the total number of players. In SQL, we need to identify the first login date for every player. We write a select statement. And we're going to use the window function. We need the minimum or the earliest event date. This will be our initial login date. Over partition by player ID is our group. So this will be our first login. Now we need to calculate the fraction. In order to calculate the fraction, we need to use this new column first login, but we cannot use it in the same select statement. We can use a common table expression. Each common table expression starts with the keyword with, followed by the name of the common table expression. A name can be whatever you like, so we will call it player logins. And the select statement goes inside. This common table expression is our table that we can use in the subsequent select statement. So we write the select statement, and now we select the columns from player logins common table expression. First, we need to find if there are players who logged in immediately after their first login. We use the case when statement. If the event date is the same as first login plus 1 day and plus 1 day, we calculate with the function date add. We add 1 day to the first login. Then we take the player ID. If these cases exist, we need to count distinct player IDs. And the number of these players we need to cast as float. Now we need to divide this number by the total number of distinct player IDs. We use the divide operator and we count all distinct player IDs. Once we have the fraction, this division is our fraction, we need to round the number to 2 decimal digits. We use the function round. And this column is called fraction. Now let's run the query. And we successfully solved this problem in SQL. Let's move on to Pandas. In Pandas, the same as in SQL, first we find the first login date for each player. We take the data frame activity and we group by player ID. From the column event date, we need the earliest date, which we will find with the function min. We save this dataset into first logins dataset. Now we need to rename the event date into first login column. We take this newly created dataset first logins and we use the function rename. The column event date will become first login. Now we merge first logins dataset together with the activity data frame. Activity is our initial data frame. First logins is the same as activity, but with the grouped player IDs and the earliest date of each player's login. If we merge these two datasets, we will receive a data frame with both columns event date and first login column. Next, we calculate total unique players. We take the player ID column and we use the function numberUnique. And this will be our total players variable where we will store the number. Now we filter for rows where event date is exactly 1 day after first login. So we take the data frame and we check if the event date is equal to first login plus 1 day. And to calculate plus 1 day, we use the Pandas Timedelta. This will be our consecutive logins. Now we count unique players who met the condition. We take the dataset that we just created, consecutive logins, the column player ID, and the same as before, we use numberUnique function. Here we have the total number of all distinct or unique players that we have in the table, and here we have all distinct players who meet this condition. Basically, those players who initially logged in on one date and the next day they logged in again. We will save this number into returning players. The last thing we need to do is to compute the fraction. We take the returning players, divide by total players, and we round it to 2 decimals. And this is our fraction. Now we are ready to return the result. We return a data frame. Our header is fraction, and the value is whatever is stored in the fraction variable. To avoid an error, we need to put the name of each column inside the single quotes. Now let's run the code. And we successfully solved this problem in Python Pandas. Which syntax did you prefer for this specific problem? Common table expression with the window function in SQL, or using GroupBy, numberUnique function, and division in Python Pandas? Let me know in the comments.